Welcome back to Grade 8 Geography, Unit Number 1, Global Settlement, Patterns and Sustainability. This is Lesson Number 6. How is climate change affecting settlements? Here's a two-part question to consider. And after I read these two questions, put the video on pause so you can properly consider these questions because we will discuss this in tomorrow's class. Part A. How has climate change affected Toronto in a positive way? On the flip side, Part B. How has climate change affected Toronto in a negative way? All over the world, people have observed changes in local weather patterns. Some areas are getting more frequent and violent storms. Other areas are having shorter and warmer winters. These examples of climate change have been seen for over 60 years now, and they are having major effects on where people settle. Earth's average temperature is increasing. This has actually created advantages for people living in areas farther north and south of the equator. For example, Canadian prairie farmers have found that warmer temperatures create longer growing seasons, which allows them to grow more types of crops. Places that were once too cold for settlement are now suitable living spaces as roads are less likely to freeze. Warmer climates may also change employment opportunities. While it may be too warm for skiing, new golf courses may be created, and there could be more tourism. This will lead to more people settling in these areas. Climate scientists believe that the global climate will become much wetter overall. An increase in precipitation can hurt or help agriculture depending on when and where it happens. However, some areas may have a decrease in temperature, leading to less precipitation. A lack of precipitation can lead to drought and desertification. Drier climates in southern Europe and the Mediterranean could cause industries built around grapes and olives to suffer. And we can see this picture here the effect of a lack of precipitation. This once lush green tree is now wearing thin. In the last few years, we have seen an increase in the number of severe and extreme storms. Scientists believe that this is because of climate change. Major storms can destroy settlements and people's livelihoods. The bad news is scientists are predicting an overall increase in global precipitation. This means that there is likely to be an even greater number of violent storms in years to come. Communities can protect themselves by making changes to the way that homes are constructed and using early warning and evacuation systems. However, not all communities can afford the costs of these strategies. So just looking at this satellite image here, eastern Canada has also been hit hard by storms that start near the equator and travel north. That's happening a lot more frequently compared to past decades where tropical storms would start near the equator, make their way to, say, the southern tip of the United States. And by the time they got near eastern Canada, uh, it wasn't really anything to be concerned about. Get some rain, but that was all. And now, of course, we hear about New York getting hit by more major storms, and those storms are just continuing into the Maritimes. And then closer to home, images like this one have been all too common in Toronto the last 3 years. Think of storms during the summer. Sea levels have risen twice as fast in the last 20 years, than in the previous 80 years. Sea levels are rising because glaciers are melting and because ocean water expands when it gets warmer. As sea levels rise, cities on coastlines will be affected. About 600 million people live on ocean coasts, and they are at an increasing risk of losing their communities to flooding caused by rising sea levels. So you can just see over the decades, if this trend of rising sea levels continues, we're going to have major cities like San Francisco, Lower Manhattan, South London, Shanghai, eventually New York, London, and Toronto, uh, all being covered by water. One method that some countries are using to save coastal communities is land reclamation. Land reclamation involves creating new land in coastal waters by depositing sand, rock, and concrete into the water. The Netherlands has a major concern with rising sea levels, as about one quarter of its area is under sea level. Flooding could cause a major loss of life, and it could force millions to move. The Dutch have actually been using land reclamation strategies, such as building dams and dikes, to prevent the North Sea from flooding their country. And here's a very clear example of this system, which is being used throughout the Netherlands. As sea levels rise and storms become more frequent, more erosion can occur. Coastal erosion is also caused by construction on beaches and cliffs. The construction blocks sand from building up and creating a protective barrier. The erosion of cliffs threatens people who live in coastal areas. When cliffs erode, nearby houses, even whole settlements, can fall into the water. Settlements built right on beaches are also at risk. As sea levels rise, thousands of coastal homes in Liberia, Africa, are being washed away. As you can see, many risks to settlement are caused by climate change. The changing climate is affecting people's decisions about where to live. Citizens and governments need to take action to slow and hopefully reverse the effects of climate change that threaten human settlements. Okay, so please allow me to read these. Uh, Actually, it's just uh, one large question broken up into two smaller parts. Here it is. Do you feel that climate change is making it more likely for people to move to or away from Toronto? And why do you feel this way? Okay, so this really goes back to the question that was presented at the start of the video. But again, we will be discussing this question in addition to the first one in class. So do make sure to put the video on pause. You can even go back and listen to this video one or two more times. Again, the question is, do you feel that climate change is making it more likely for people to move to or away from Toronto? And why do you feel this way? So make sure you put the video on pause to read over this question and consider your idea for discussion tomorrow's class. And until tomorrow, this concludes today's video.